Hi, I'm Thiago Passos for SSWTV, and we're here at Microsoft Ignite Australia, and today I've got Lars Klint. Lars is an author, trainer, a Microsoft MVP, and a HoloLens developer. Hi Lars, how's it going?
Good, how are you, Thiago?
Yeah, very well, thanks. So first question to start with, what is augmented reality? Or mixed reality, if they call that, and what's the difference between virtual reality?
Yeah, so often what happens is that mixed reality is kind of put in the same category as augmented reality. So virtual reality, we kind of all know. Virtual reality is when you replace your entire reality. So that would be your Oculus Rift or your HTC Vive. So everything the user sees is designed by a developer or a designer.
Cool.
Then you have augmented reality, which is more of an overlay on the real world. So you can still see the physical world like we're in, but you have data that sits on top of that physical world and augments it. So an example would be you have a set of playing cards, and each card is a trigger for an augmented experience. And when you play the card, or the app that you're viewing it through sees this card, it comes to life. So the character that's on the card comes to life. It could also be, say, a boat on a brochure. When you view it through usually a mobile device, the boat comes to life.
Awesome.
Right, on the actual brochure. So it kind of enhances, augments the reality.
Nice.
Now, mixed reality in this case kind of falls in both and none. So mixed reality is an interaction between your physical reality and your digital reality, which neither AR or VR does. And usually a good example is if I have a digital ball and I put that on a table, a physical table, and I tip the table, the digital ball rolls off. So you have this interaction between the physical environment and the digital environment, and that's where mixed reality comes in.
Cool. And what sort of use case can you see, and what industries can you see taking more advantage of HoloLens?
So there's a lot of potential currently with HoloLens.
Yep.
There's not as many actual projects happening, but that'll come in time. But something like education, to me, is a really, really big market for something like HoloLens, because imagine you're a medicine student, you're studying medicine. Cool. Instead of cutting up real people, you can cut up a hologram to find out where the heart is, how the nervous system works, and all that. That sense. Education I've seen an example with music. So you have a virtual piano teacher, but sitting on your actual piano. So you follow the hands on your piano, done by a virtual set of hands. It looks a bit creepy because you kind of cut off the hand, but you get the idea, right?
Get that.
And so that sort of enhancement of your reality is what is key. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of saying, oh, I've done this really cool thing, but it becomes quickly an AR or a VR experience. So it's important that there is this sort of conscious decision to make it a mixed reality experience.
Cool. So for someone who's starting or wants to start developing for HoloLens, what are the tips that you can give? And also, as a .NET developer, what are the skills that this person needs to learn before they get into HoloLens development?
So being a .NET developer is a big plus. The device runs Windows 10, and apps that you build for HoloLens are universal Windows platform apps. So that means that an app you build for HoloLens runs on all Windows 10 devices if you choose to. So it could run on your mobile phone, those of us that have a Windows phone. It could run on your Windows tablet. It could run on your Surface Hub, on your big touchscreen. It could run on Xbox. So it runs on everything, including HoloLens. So that's the first key, is that you need to understand how to develop Windows 10 apps. The other side of it is that you need to understand Unity. Unity 3D is traditionally it's a gaming tool, and you use it to build games, whether they're 3D or 2D games in it. And because it's a 3D experience with HoloLens, you use Unity to build that 3D experience, and you attach scripts to your assets just like you would in any other Unity
So you would
project.
have to learn like graphics and 3D modeling and stuff like that?
Not so much graphics. You can use Direct 3D to build your your apps and your experiences, but it's more about understanding how 3D models behave.
Okay.
You can always buy models. You can always find someone that's good at 3D modeling if you are a developer.
Do you need to learn physics as well?
No, there's lots of physics libraries, and you can sort of scale physics up and down. So you want more or less real type physics. There's a good example on the Microsoft developer portal of what's called Astroman. And he's essentially an astronaut floating in space. So just float, right? So that's one kind of physics that you can attach to it. And you can, explode him, pull them apart, put them back together again, and do all sorts of different kind of
Awesome.
tips with it. So starting is easy. Just go to the Microsoft HoloLens developer portal and start there.
Nice. I've had a look at the first generation, and it's awesome. I tried myself, and it's amazing. But just as a start, I see some limitations, especially with the peripheral view.
Yep.
Because it looks, when you wear the HoloLens, it's like a big screen just in front of you, but you actually can see where it doesn't go to, right? So this is one limitation that I picked up. But also, using outdoor is a limitation as well, as I've heard. Can you see any other limitation for HoloLens?
Yeah, I mean, price is a limitation in itself.
Yeah,
right?
it's
very, very
hey?
expensive.
Yeah.
Currently, it's at $3,000 US. The field of view is a limitation because you essentially have a letterbox that you look through. You do get used to it though after an hour or so of use, in my case, and you just get used to moving your head a lot.
All right.
But it is a limitation because you lose track of where holograms are.
Yeah.
It's definitely an indoor device, I'd say. Sure, you can wear it outside, but I wouldn't put it in the rain. It doesn't do well with sunlight. Something like Windows, it doesn't quite figure out where windows are because as people, we think, well, that's a wall. But the HoloLens, the infrared spatial mapping part of it kind of says, well, you can go through it.
Yeah.
So there are some quirks and limitations of it for sure that you need to be aware of.
Okay. And about the second generation, I've heard that second generation is coming, although we don't have a date for that. Can you foresee any improvement from the first generation to the second that will make HoloLens even better? Yeah,
definitely. The field of view, I hope they do something about because it is to enhance the immersion of the experience. You want to have a better field of view for sure. But something like the weight of the unit is a little bit off. Like kind of sits a little bit forward. Yeah, it's not terrible by any means. It's pretty good for a first generation device. But I would think it would get somewhat smaller. Not that it's particularly bulky, but it still feels like a helmet that you put on. It doesn't feel like glasses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if they somehow make it a little bit lighter or a little bit more nimble, perhaps, and then if they want to build it into industry, especially something like factories, it needs to be more sturdy.
Cool.
It is a little bit fragile.
Cool. And finally, when is it coming? Like, when is it coming for end users, for all of us here?
I don't know. Ask Microsoft. I don't work for Microsoft, so they don't tell me anything. But I would have thought they'd be working on it right now. But there's lots of devices coming from Dell, HP, Lenovo, those sort of companies, the big manufacturers. But they're more VR type devices with MR elements. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Awesome. All right, Lars. Thanks for coming. So here it is, Thiago Passos for SSW TV. Thanks for watching.